minutes to convince myself to sit down.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
What did they say on the phone?
nothing yet. So I'm gonna wait before I really go into what happened. That way I don't have to repeat myself. Um, God, I look so bad. I look so rough. Um, yeah. So, we'll wait for the views to stable out before I um, really go into it. So, basically, Velocity is still in the veterinary hospital. She didn't end up needing surgery. She was able to have. She's had one puppy so far. Unfortunately, that puppy did not make it. Um, and we're waiting on the second puppy to be born. I'm not gonna lie, I have a bad feeling about it. Um, so I'm not really gonna hold out any hope. Um, I think that I think that I think that this was just a really bad season. Um, I've really been thinking a lot about it, and you know, I think it just sucks. I was trying to figure out like what could have caused this like really bad season for me, because I'm pretty sure that Blondie was pregnant and that she reabsorbed. Because she looked pregnant, you know what I mean? Like, we weren't overfeeding her at the time. We later started to overfeed her. In fact, I remember I wasn't feeding her more than she was ever eating. Um, and she looked bigger, you know what I mean? She looked big and pregnant. And I think that she just reabsorbed. Um, and I think that I think it was the medication that I gave him. I think it was the metronidazole. I should say my vet gave them. Um, we did two medications. We did metronidazole and we did fibenzanol. When we were treating that bug. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden Blondie started to not look pregnant after we used it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, that Velocity had 4 puppies on the ultrasound, and then whenever the they did the x-ray, there were only 2. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I just think that it was just a bad season. And I think that maybe there's like a failure to thrive in these puppies. You know what I mean? That it was just, I think that Velocity probably, um, I think that she probably suffered from it. I think the bug kind of got them. I think that maybe the puppies didn't get enough nutrients, and because that bug really wrecks the intestinal system, it prevents nutrient absorption. It you know it causes malnutrition, and then on top of that, the medications that we use just really wreck the system. That's just all there was. And I think all of us that have had children, we know that you really don't want to do medications, you know what I mean? And you want to be as natural as possible. And we just didn't get to do that this time. We had to treat the bug. It's not an option. So it's a lesson learned for me as a breeder. I think from now on, anytime I bring a new dog into my program, I'll take them to the vet and I'll have a fecal exam done to make sure that they're not carrying anything. And I'll quarantine them until I know that they're not carrying anything. I'm really, really, really hoping that this last puppy comes out and is okay and makes it. But I'm not holding my breath. It's just been a bad day. In fact, on the way out, I dropped my phone. I busted the screen. It's just been a bad day. You know what I mean? I don't care, whatever. The phone is a phone, but it's just one of those things when like everything kind of goes wrong, you know what I mean? And you just kind of know like you're not going to get a break, and that's kind of how it feels. And the thing about it is that if she can have them naturally, we should let her. A cesarean is very hard on a female. Usually you have to just keep getting cesareans every time. So it's really best to let her just have these puppies. Even putting her under anesthesia has risks. It could kill her, you know what I mean? So I really kind of thought about it, like, should we just do the cesarean? And I realized that it's just not a good idea. You know what I mean? If she can have the puppy naturally, she should. And sometimes puppies just don't make it. We know that. You know what I mean? We know that. As breeders, we know that. Not everybody on here is a breeder, but I've spoken with a lot of my breeder friends recently about it. And everybody just agrees that that's why we kind of waited. That's why we wanted to make sure all her levels are good. You know what I mean? She's not she's not suffering. And it's important to look at the long term. You know what I mean? Like there is kind of a thing where you don't know if something, if even that would help. You know what I mean? I didn't see the puppy that didn't make it. I don't want to. It would make me really sad and depressed. And if the next puppy doesn't make it, then you know what? I'm just going to give Velocity all the love that I can. I'm just going to have her with me and really kind of just spend a lot of time with her and really try to give her the comfort and the love that she needs to feel okay about it. Because there is, like they kind of know, you know what I mean? In this weird way, they do kind of know. And then we'll just try again, the next time. What I will do is, I didn't really speak about it on the channel yet, but I am, I've been wanting to do a video about it, but I've just been so busy and tired that I haven't done it yet. But I am switching to a dog food called Farmina. It's made in Italy. It's a European food, and it's a much higher quality dog food. It's costing me a fortune to feed all my pack. But they do have a breeder program, And I'm probably going to be paying about double what I already pay in dog food because I feed Diamond, and I'm going to be purchasing the Farmina breeder bags, and so I'm going to be feeding a much higher quality diet, which I am hoping that will kind of help to kind of reset my dogs from that bug, and try to kind of like get their nutrient levels back up. And then, because I've learned so much recently. I've done these kind of like these conferences with these people, and I've learned a lot about American dog food companies and kind of the lies they tell and how they do what they do and how they make the food that they make and how they kind of get away with what they do and what the dog food really is. And so, sure, can your dog live off it? Absolutely. Can it thrive off of it? Probably not. And if something hits them, an intestinal bug hits them, and it's one that specifically depletes them of nutrients, it's going to take a lot longer for them to bounce back. And at a sensitive time during a pregnancy, it could very well flatline that pregnancy. And I think the only reason why Velocity was even able to keep 2 puppies was because she got pregnant before Blondie did. So her puppies were a little bit older, and even then she still reabsorbed 2 of them. So, so I'm switching to Farmina, and I'm also going to supplement with some kind of prenatal vitamins, and really try to get her up to par, both her and Blondie. And really, all my dogs, I'll probably just go ahead and do some supplementation, especially while we're switching over. It's always hard to switch a dog food over, but I already made my first purchase of it. And you know, that's all we can do as breeders is like really kind of look at a situation, because it's kind of like if you're a nurse, like a prenatal nurse, right? When you work in the industry of giving, of like being there when birth happens, you get aware of the fact that that not every birth goes successfully. You know what I mean? It's just a fact of life, and that's one of the things that a lot of breeders have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like we work in that world, not with humans, but with dogs. And so it's not always going to be positive all the time. We would love it to be. It's heartbreaking to have to go through this, but ultimately that's the reality. And I made a post on my Facebook group about it because a lot of people think that breeding is like, you know, so easy and you just make all this money, and it's not true. You know what I mean? It's not true at all. Can you make money breeding? Absolutely. But you can also lose a lot of money. I'm in the hole big time on this breeding. I paid for artificial insemination. I paid for the ultrasound. I paid for the x-ray, and now I'm paying for this vet visit, and I have nothing to show for it. And that's fine with me, you know what I mean? Because I'm aware of what I'm doing, and I'm aware of the risks, and I'm okay with that. I don't want this to happen, but it's not that unexpected, I guess, because I know that this is just a part of my job. You know what I mean? The same way that fetal deaths is the same part of a prenatal nurse's job. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna see it sometimes. Not everybody gets to make it. And so while it is tough emotionally, I'm trying to kind of like to deal with it. You know what I mean? I can say that I am really, really glad that it happened here and not at my house, because it's so hard for me when things like that happen. Like, It really, really is very hard for me when a puppy doesn't make it. You know, I'm in the business of trying to produce life and keep it alive, nurture it, not to ever see it, you know, diminish. And it's very hard for me emotionally. You know what I mean? I'm very connected to my animals, probably to a fault, some breeders tell me. And um, and so it's heartbreaking to me when things like this happen. But you know, this is just part of it. And you know, and it's just not everything about our jobs gets to be positive, you know. And this is just one of those times. I got lucky with Cashmere, her last litter, that even though we had a hiccup, it ended up being okay. And this time we just didn't get that lucky. You know what I mean? Last time we got lucky, this time we just didn't. And the thing about it is that it was bound to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know of a breeder alive that hasn't experienced this, other than people who haven't been doing it long enough. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with Velocity or Batista. It just means that this particular situation was a bad situation. There were a lot of variables that I believe really could have contributed to this. I've talked to a lot of my breeder friends about it, and you know, we just had a lot of pitfalls happen with this breeding. And everybody, all of us believe that Blondie was pregnant. I mean, it just, if you look at the videos, she got big, you know, and I promise you I was not overfeeding her. Like, I did not change her food. And mostly the reason I don't actually change their food initially is because I want to know if they're pregnant. The last thing I want to do is make them look pregnant when they're not, because then that obviously tricks us. And what I did is after she started to lose weight, then I started to overfeed her because I was like in denial. And I was like, no, she just needs more food. And you know, she had lost the litter. She reabsorbed. It happens. They reabsorb. And there's a really great, like I said, since getting in touch with Farmina, it's been really great because they're very supportive of breeders. And they sent me this. It was like a I'm not gonna say a seminar. What would you call it? Like a conference, like a, I don't know what it was, but it was a conference call with Dr. Hutchinson and these other people with a website that is supposed to be for helping breeders. And it was all about canine reproduction. And they talked about reabsorption and false pregnancies and just pregnancy in general, and like all the facts that actually I've talked about on my channel regarding reproduction in dogs, and really kind of busting myths and talking about the science. And they talked about, you know, this kind of stuff and how medications and less than ideal conditions, you know, when an animal's body knows, there's plenty of examples of this, when they know that there's something going on, the body just terminates. If it can, it'll just terminate. There's plenty of situations like that. Lionesses do it. They can do breeding, and then they can actually, oddly enough, they can like somehow choose whether to let implantation happen based upon whether or not they think the males are going to stay or not. Kangaroos can do it. They can abort if it's just really bad and it's super hot, or there's like a drought or something. So, you know, I think it was just bad timing, unfortunately. And we're just going to have to try again next time. Like I said, there's still a possibility that one puppy could make it, but I'll be honest with you, it's been 2 hours now. No puppy. They did say whenever I called in last that she was pushing again. Um, but like I said, when you deal with a complicated labor like this, that's when you run into problems. Typically, puppies come about an hour between each other. You know what I mean? Like they come. In fact, with Cashmere, she had such big litters. She would have the one, and then she would have like boom, 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 like a couple, and then after that, she would have them about an hour apart. Thank you, Taylor. And by the way, you guys, Taylor has been amazing. I don't know if y'all remember, but Taylor was there whenever Cashmere had her puppies, and she really went out of her way to help me out, and also got one of Cashmere's puppies. And this time, this vet hospital is associated with hers, and she called and she let them know, and she got Velocity top-notch service. She got her the VIP treatment, and I can't tell you how thankful I am. We've been talking, and I just feel so blessed to have her in my life to be able to help out like that. I really do, because I don't know what I would do. I was kind of freaking out. I was sitting in the parking lot because this whole COVID thing, we're all just sitting in the parking lot.
Trying to find some food too.
Yeah, like trying to get them to come out and get her, and I was like freaking out, like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, they haven't come get her yet. And she's like, don't worry. And they were, man, they were ready. And I just, there's no substitute for that. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate it. But unfortunately, like I said, nothing that anybody could have done could have affected the outcome of what happened. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with the vet, has nothing to do with anything other than this is just a sad situation that can and does happen to people. So we're just going to try again next time. And I guess that's it. That's all I can really think to say. You know what I mean? That's all I know to say right now. I did make a post, like I said, on my Facebook group about this, because I do feel that it's a teachable moment. I always try to find the good in things. I think that trying to find the good in things is how you're able to rationalize and kind of deal with things. You know what I mean? If you can find a way to make something negative into a positive, or at least see the positive side of it, then maybe it's not so bad. And like I said, I wanted to take it as an opportunity to show people that, that I get so many people that want to buy a breeding dog from me. I can't tell you how many people want to breed dogs, or they want to use Preacher as a stud, and they'll literally say, like, when I ask them why they want to breed their dog, and they will, no shame, well, I want to make money. Okay. Well, you might make money, but you also might lose a lot of money. And this time I lost a lot of money. And so I expect that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just part of the dog world. It's part of what we do. It's a big reason why deposits are non-refundable. A lot of people don't understand that, but that's why, is because we have to have this kind of surplus of money to be able to handle these big ticket items. When things go wrong, they're very expensive. And we need to be prepared for it. And I was, you know what I mean? I was looking at a bill of $3,500. In fact, they charged me for $3,500. Now, they may refund some of it because of the fact that they haven't done a cesarean now. We thought we were going to do a cesarean, and literally, whenever they were prepping her for surgery, she started pushing. So they stimulated her. They did what I did in the video earlier, and she ended up having the puppy naturally. And so they decided to just go ahead and let her try. And so we're not there yet. So they'll probably, unless she does actually need to go in for a cesarean to get the last one out, they'll probably refund some of my money. But having said that, you have to be prepared for that. It's just part of the price of doing business. And I've told people so many times, when it comes to dogs, If it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong at nighttime and on a weekend. It's going to go wrong when it's going to cost you the absolute most money.
Oh.
No, the light. Let me turn on my car because it
really is like off.
Yeah, it doesn't want to, let me make sure my volume's down. Well, I wasn't even playing anything, was I?
No.
So, anyway, it's going to cost you. That's what dogs do. I don't know if it's just a thing, but it always happens that way. Always. Always, always, always. And so you have to be prepared to drop a small fortune. Be prepared to spend more than you paid for your dog on one visit. And I've been lucky. I've had like dogs that I never had to spend $1 on. You know what I mean? Some dogs, they're just like tough and they never get into anything. And then I've had some dogs that just cost me a fortune. And it's not because like they're like genetically messed up or anything. They just get into trouble. You know what I mean? Or things happen, right? So anyway, so I know that there are always going to be people that are going to speculate as to why something happened or whatever, but I can tell you that everything that I do is well thought out and is typically based upon people who have decades more experience than I do. That's why I didn't take her to the vet initially, because most of the time the best thing is to just let nature take its course. Let the female have her babies. You know what I mean? Like, we always want to like step in and really go out of our way to kind of do the whole better safe than sorry thing. And it does get to a time where you do need to do that. But overall, every female's different, and they're going to need to take their time or do whatever they're going to do. And sure enough, Velocity wasn't making any progress at my house. And then sure enough, we bring her here. She has a puppy. So it was the good decision to make. And they were able to give her oxytocin, and they were able to, like, even if something like, let's say a puppy did, this puppy did, was born alive, and let's just say that maybe it wasn't breathing right. They have the, everything to try to save that puppy, right? Like, they have the incubator, they have all that. I don't have that in my house. So when it's this high risk, I do believe that this is the absolute best thing. Thank you, Cindy. But I do think that it should be your last resort. Everybody believes that. All the other breeders I've talked to, it should always be the last resort. You don't want to be like, there are breeders that I know of breeds where, like, every bird